long before Chisholm was born, before Somto's cries or Ngozie's wickedness. Her father, Chaik, was a university student. He was brilliant but poor, fixing wires and sockets to pay his bills. Among his classmates was Rita, a confident, well-to-do girl who loved attention. Their friendship turned into love, but soon Rita grew restless. "Chaik, love doesn't pay rent," she would say. When he later found her on another man's lap at a dinner, his heart broke. That night, under a quiet tree, he cried, until a nursing student named Amara stopped to ask, "Are you okay?" Her gentleness softened him. They talked till dawn, and a quiet friendship began. Amara was simple, calm, and kind, the opposite of Rita. While others mocked her for being local, she only smiled. "I'd rather be mocked for being decent than praised for being fake," she told him. That strength drew Chaik in. They studied together, shared food, laughter, and dreams. Slowly, Chaik's heart healed, though a part of him still remembered Rita. Sometimes, in the silence of his hostel, he missed her, not for who she was, but for how she once made him feel. Amara noticed. "You don't have to erase your past to love me," she said gently. "Just don't let it rule your present." That night, he finally understood. Rita gave him fire, but Amara brought him peace, and peace, though quiet, was stronger. After graduation, Chaik stepped into life with a certificate in electrical engineering, a box of clothes, and a head full of dreams. Amara, now a nurse, stood by him as they rented a small, leaking room at the edge of town. To others, it was nothing. To them, it was home. They furnished it slowly: a wooden bed, a humming fan, and a stubborn kerosene stove. At night, they counted their coins, laughed at their struggles, and dreamed of better days. When Chaik proposed with a simple silver ring, Amara's tears said yes before her lips did. Love in simplicity. Chaik fixed radios and fans in a small shop, while Amara worked long hours at a private clinic. Life was hard, but peaceful. She would tease, "Engineer, when will you buy me a gas cooker?" "When my business grows," he'd laugh. Yet, beneath his laughter, shadows lingered. Sometimes a scent of perfume or a flash of red lipstick would bring back Rita, the bold, fiery woman who once made him feel alive. Rita had been confident, demanding, and daring. Amara was gentle, prayerful, and calm. Rita's love had burned like fire. Amara's glowed like a candle. He told himself he'd chosen peace, yet part of him still missed the storm. The quiet conflict. As the wedding approached, Chaik felt the weight of memory. He admired Amara's simplicity, but sometimes caught himself wondering how Rita would have commanded things, how she would have made noise where Amara whispered. The thought shamed him, yet it returned often. On their wedding day, when Amara walked down the aisle in her modest white gown, he saw only grace. Rita's fire had faded, Amara's warmth remained. He realized then that love didn't always roar. Sometimes it spoke in silence. Healing and peace. Marriage tested him. Amara was patient to a fault, never angry, never loud. When he came home moody, she smiled and said, "Was the day hard, my love?" Her calmness both healed and humbled him. One night, he woke to find her praying softly beside the bed, not for herself, but for him. That broke him. He knelt beside her and whispered, "I didn't know I had a wife like this." From that night, Rita's memory lost its hold. He stopped comparing noise to peace, and began to understand that peace was power in disguise. The promise of new life. When Amara discovered she was pregnant, she danced alone in their tiny kitchen. That evening, she told him, "You're going to be a father." He froze, then held her close, whispering, "This child will be born into peace." She smiled, and love. For weeks, their home glowed with joy. He built a small crib from leftover wood, and she sang lullabies as she cooked. Everything felt right, until that message came. The secret conversations. A few days later, he replied to her message. "Chaik, why now, Rita? It's been years." "Rita, because I finally realized what I lost, and I heard you're doing well now. Maybe it's time we talk, just one drink. And so, while his pregnant wife lay restless inside, Chaik planned a date with the woman who once broke him. The night before. The night before the meeting, Amara had terrible cramps. "Chaik," she groaned, "please help me rub my back." He glanced up briefly from his phone. "You'll be fine. I have to wake up early tomorrow." She smiled weakly and said nothing more. The morning after. The sun was high when Chaik opened his eyes. Rita was asleep beside him, peaceful, like the devil after victory. His shirt lay crumpled on the chair. His conscience screamed. He dressed quietly and left without looking back. Outside, the city was loud, bright, and merciless. Every sound, the honk of a car, a street vendor's call, felt like judgment. Chaik came home to find Amara groaning on the bed. "Are you okay?" he asked, rushing to her. She gripped his arm. "Chaik, I think it's time." He froze, then sprang into motion, grabbing the hospital bag, helping her into the car. At the clinic, nurses rushed her in. For hours, he paced the corridor, sweating, praying, trembling. The nurse walked out smiling. "Congratulations, sir. You have a baby girl." Chaik froze. Tears welled in his eyes as he rushed in to see Amara, exhausted, pale, but smiling faintly, a small bundle wrapped in white resting in her arms. When she handed him the baby, something inside him broke and healed at the same time. He gazed at the tiny face, so peaceful, so new, and whispered, "Chisholm, God is with me." Amara smiled weakly. "That's her name." He nodded. "Yes, she's proof that God never left me, even when I lost myself." He took her hand gently. "I've done things I can't undo, Amara, but I swear I'll spend the rest of my life doing right by you." The end of the shad. Days later, while Amara rested, Chaik deleted Rita's contact for good. He blocked her everywhere, changed his number, and threw the old SIM card into a river near the workshop. That night, he kissed his wife's forehead, carried his newborn daughter, and for the first time in months, slept in peace. The unexpected news. 4 years after Chisholm's birth, Amara felt different again, tired, dizzy, restless. At first, she blamed stress, until the test came positive. When Chaik came home, she handed it to him silently. He stared, blinked twice, then broke into a smile. "Another baby." Amara nodded, tears filling her eyes. He dropped to his knees and kissed her belly. "God's giving me another chance to do everything right this time." She laughed softly. "Let's hope this one has your stubbornness and my patience." He smiled. "No, let them both have your heart." As the weeks passed, Amara's condition worsened. Her once lively laughter grew faint, her steps slower, her face pale. Chaik stopped going to the shop as often. He stayed home, watching her every breath like it might be her last. One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, Amara called him close. "Chaik," she whispered, her voice weak but steady, "if anything happens to me." He pressed a finger gently to her lips. "Don't say that, please." Tears welled in her eyes. "Then promise me something. Promise you'll raise our children with the same love you finally learned to give." He held her trembling hand, nodding, though his throat tightened. "You'll live, Amara. We'll raise them together." But she only smiled faintly. That knowing, peaceful smile of a woman who had already surrendered to something greater than fear. The night of pain. It was around midnight, when Amara's screams tore through the silence. Chaik sprang from the bed, panic surging through his chest. Her body was drenched in sweat, her hands gripping the sheets. "The baby, it's coming," she gasped. He carried her to the car, his hands shaking so badly that the keys nearly slipped. The drive to the hospital felt endless. Rain lashed against the windshield, thunder roared, and every second felt like a countdown. When they arrived, nurses rushed her into the emergency ward. Chaik tried to follow, but a doctor stopped him at the door. "Please wait outside, sir." He paced the hallway, whispering the same prayer over and over. "God, please. I don't deserve mercy, but please don't take her." Hours crawled by. Every scream from the ward tore a piece of him. And then, finally, silence. The doctor emerged, face grave but calm. "Your wife," he began. Chaik's heart froze. The doctor's eyes softened. "Is alive, but we had to act fast. It was a complicated delivery. She lost a lot of blood, but she's strong. And your baby boy, he's doing well." Chaik collapsed to his knees, sobbing, whispering, "Thank you, Jesus." The dawn after darkness. When he entered the ward, Amara was pale and weak, but smiling. In her arms lay a small boy, sleeping soundly. "Chaik," she whispered, "meet your son." He took the baby carefully, as though he was holding light itself. "What shall we call him?" he asked softly. Amara's eyes glistened. "Chijubum, God is my guide." He nodded, tears rolling freely. "Chisum and Chijubum," he said, "are miracles." Grace upon grace. In the months that followed, Amara's body slowly regained strength. Chaik watched her with renewed devotion, bathing the children, cooking, praying with them, laughing again. Every moment felt like a borrowed miracle. Sometimes at night, he'd wake up just to watch them sleep. Amara with baby Chijubum curled in her arms, Chisum sprawled across the bed. He'd whisper, "Thank you, Lord, for not giving up on me." And when Amara stirred awake and caught him watching, she'd smile and murmur, "You still look at me like you're afraid to blink." He'd chuckle softly, "Because I am. I don't want to miss a single second." Epilogue, the quiet redemption. Years later, Chaik would often tell his children stories about mistakes, mercy, and second chances. He never hid his past. Instead, he used it to teach them that love isn't just about fire or passion, but forgiveness and endurance. When Chisum turned 10, she once asked, "Papa, what made you love Mama so much?" He smiled, glancing at Amara across the room. "Because she loved me when I didn't even love myself." And as the evening light filtered into their small, warm home, Amara looked at her family, her living proofs of grace, and whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude. Because in the end, love didn't just survive the fire. A love strengthened by fire. One evening, Chaik sat beside Amara on the veranda. The sunset washed their faces in gold. "I thought I lost you," he said quietly. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You didn't. You just had to find me again through faith." He smiled. "I'll never take another day with you for granted." Amara looked toward their children playing in the yard. "We almost broke, Chaik, but maybe God just wanted to remind us how fragile life is and how strong love can be." He nodded, his hand covering hers. "Then let's live gently for them and for us." The years ahead. As time passed, the pain of that night became only a memory, one that made them more grateful. Samto grew strong and curious. Chisum grew wise beyond her years. And every evening, when laughter filled their small home, Chaik would look at Amara, alive, radiant, whole, and whisper in his heart, "This is grace, the kind you almost lose before you learn to cherish it." From then on, their home stood firm, not perfect, but healed. The ghosts of old mistakes faded, replaced by the laughter of children and the warmth of forgiveness. Rita became just a name, one Chaik would never speak again.